Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest on the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, so I have Jackie Hoegger on the line, who's CEO of Hoegger Communications, and Matt Hamilton, who is director and editor of The Foundation. Jackie, Matt, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So I'm excited to get into today's topic. So we'll be talking about the film, The Foundation. I'll tell you, for those that have been watching this show, first off, for a long time, you may recall my interview with Aaron Alejandro from Texas FFA. And ever since that interview, I mean, I was just so thrilled about some of the work they're doing that I was invited to one of their film launches for the organization that was detailing their history. And I was so impressed by the film that I had to invite the creators, so Jackie and Matt, to the show to talk about their process, like how they came up with the concept. How does somebody take like all of that history and create it into a short film, or excuse me, a short documentary? Like, I don't know how they did it, but I'm excited to pick their brains and figure it out. But just to get us kicked off, we'll start this episode the way that we start them all, with our Mission Matters Minute. So Jackie, Matt, we at Mission Matters, we amplify stories for entrepreneurs, executives, and experts. That's our mission. Jackie and Matt, what mission matters to you?
Oh, gosh. Well, I feel like we are storytellers as well, and we gain eyeballs and attention on very important, heartfelt topics and stories that need to be told. We like to look at ourselves as a partner with a company who seeks our services, not just a vendor. So we do a lot of listening, and we really find what their ultimate goal is. And so as they're speaking to us, our mission is to make sure that if we were to fast forward to the end of the project, that they look at us and go, wow, that was exactly what we wanted. That's our mission.
Oh, that's great. And Matt, I have to ask you the same. What mission matters to you?
I would say on my end, I'm more in the video world. So when I'm looking at things, I'm looking at just what's the most interesting story to tell. What's the heart of a story? What's the why of a story? Why should people know this story? We've got to do a lot of cool stories here at Hoegger, and like Jackie said, our end goal is to just have people leave with a product they're really proud of, and also something that when we come in every day, when we open up our laptops and get to work, something we're excited when we get there, and when we're excited when we leave to come back the next day. So whatever story that is, that's our mission.
Love bringing mission-based individuals on the line to share why they do what they do. Like, what gets them excited in the creative process? Like why do they get up out of bed and go out there into the marketplace and tell stories and really look to make a difference? So great having you both on the show. And I like to always start at the beginning on these things. So I'll start with you, Jackie. I mean, like, tell us a little bit more about Hoegger Communications and how you got started on this path.
Well, for the last 16 years, we've been a full service agency, and we have grown from, believe it or not, one person, which is just me, to up to 20 creative souls. So we're a boutique agency in Texas, but I live in an airplane. We have clients in 23 states across America. So I live in an airplane. Being a full service agency means we do everything from digital to website to creative to branding to brand awareness. A lot of it includes video. I think a lot of the world has found us through the video world because our video department is so powerful. But word of mouth seems to get us out there more than anything. When people find us, I think they feel like they have found a true partner and a true like-minded soul. Because when we meet with a new client and they tell us what they want, believe it or not, it's like my blood starts tap dancing because I know I can achieve what they're wanting us to do. You know, I grew up on a farm, even though I drive into the city every day. And I remember from being a little girl, my father always told us, do what you do well and hire done what you cannot do. And we love bringing that. I know what I want, Jackie. I just don't know how to make it happen. That's what we do every day. And that can be a gamut of anything that has to do with marketing, from PR to branding to crisis, you name it, we do it.
It's amazing. And isn't it interesting? I always find it interesting. Like, it started with yourself. And then I know there's a lot of work and ups and downs and all these other things that happen. But like, you wake up one day and you're like, where'd all these people come from?
Well, we just hired another one yesterday who starts next week. But you're right. The key is hiring the right people and having a culture in your office of creative, like-minded souls that bounce ideas off each other. If you were to ever sit in our war room, it's a video of all videos just to watch how we come up with the creative process.
Yeah, it's interesting. I tell people all the time, I'm like, it started, this podcast, this show, everything started with an iPhone and a set of headphones, not even like the good ones, just the ones that come with the phone. And I did first 300 episodes. I mean, I was recording, I was editing, I was doing the distribution, all of that. And now you look and you're like, man, years of doing it. So I always like to tell people that are out there that have a dream and they have something they want to get out there. They want to get a message, like, go out there and do it. Like, you don't be held back based on anything mentally or just all these other things. I mean, you can say, don't get caught up into comparing yourself to one brand versus another, one idea versus another. I mean, one thing is that I believe is that we all have some type of message or story to get out there. So whatever your format is, whether it's podcasting, video, blogs, I mean, social media, whatever you want to do, smoke signal, I don't know, like whatever you want to do, get that story out there. So let's bring Matt into this. So Matt, I want to know as well, as a creator, like, how did this fascination or this love for video film, like where did all that begin for you?
This started back when I was a kid, back when my dad, let us use his big camera, the big VHS camera that sat on your shoulder and weighed 20 pounds.
On the shoulder breaker, yeah.
Oh yeah, still have it too. It's like timepiece now.
Yeah.
It just started from that. And then, as technology got better, I was able to start like in the early 2000s, you get a Mac and start editing videos. And now, like we carry cameras that shoot 4K in our pocket, so everybody has a camera on them. And it's just always been, to me, it's filming and editing has always just made sense. And, it's something I've just kept at, started as a hobby, and been lucky enough to turn it into a full-time job.
Amazing. Jackie, I want to start getting into this film, but maybe it makes sense to kind of set the stage with telling us a little bit more about how you got introduced to the Texas FFA Foundation and Aaron and the whole crew over there.
Yeah, that's a great question. I've watched Aaron for a long time do his incredible work for the foundation. And the fact that I grew up on a dairy farm and was very involved with the agricultural world, and I still drive out to the farm, swore I'd never marry a dairyman, married a dairyman. Fast forward 30 plus years, we've raised our kids on the farm. So I drive into the city every day and work this creative office. But Aaron, I cross paths with him every once in a while, and we've watched some of the work that they have produced. And off of a random call one day, and Aaron watching our previous work, last year and the year before were great years for us. Hoegger took videography all the way to the international winning level, won so many film awards and so much, not only across the United States, but international. I think it kind of woke Aaron up a little bit and say, I'm going to call this local farm girl that I know that's doing great stuff, and let's just start talking. And the minute Aaron and I met and he told me the story of the foundation, there is no doubt that all of those years and all of those memories needed to come into a cohesive story to let people know what really works behind the scenes of FFA and how important the foundation is and will be for the future.
Yeah, it's great. And what I like about the film, and I guess it's a good time to get into that and to transition. But one of the things I liked about the film is that as when we had that viewing party prior to being released, and all of us were on the call and we're all watching it, is that when everybody came back onto the call and was kind of giving their feedback on it, like everybody's eyes were just open. Everybody was blown away, and they've been moved. So to get from concept story to emotionally move somebody, it's not an easy thing to do. I mean, people maybe assume that it can be done, but for anybody that's tried to make something that's emotionally appealing or moving or entertaining, and maybe has hit the mark or known when they hit the mark versus when they missed it, I would argue on this one the mark was definitely hit, and you could tell by the audience's reaction, like 100%. So just maybe starting into the film, and this is for either of you, Jackie or Matt, as the project was brought, to your plates, like what was the first step? Like what was the first step in this creative process?
Matt, you're so good at answering this question. I think they should hear from your perspective.
So the first step that we took when we get a big project like this is start with the interviews. We know we're telling the story. We know we have ideas. We know where it could go, but we can't do really anything unless we have the interviews. Mm-hmm. So we started doing the interviews. We shot here and we shot in Austin, and we came back with over 60 hours of footage of interviews, which we still have there's a lot of great stuff that we had to leave out, but it's just trying to tell this story is important. So once we got the interviews, it's kind of you start hearing key moments in each interview. Like one person is talking about another thing, and the next person is talking about that same thing. So you can tell that was an important milestone in their history. When you watch the film, one thing that they brought up that was really important was the first milestone they hit in raising the first 1.5 million. And as an editor, I'm watching this during the interview and I know, okay, I'm going to use this moment. I'm going to use this moment. So being on set is really important for these types of things. And we just come back from there and start with the interviews. It kind of crafts a story from there, and then we get to have fun and come up with graphics, animation, and B-roll and different ways to show stuff happening back then.
I want to talk a little bit more about the interview part of things, because there's other creators that watch this show as well. And, there is something I think special about being able to get the right interview, the right content out of, whoever the subject matter is or the subject matter expert is. And so one of the things I feel kind of some creators, myself included, can struggle with is it's like, okay, everybody has a great story. They have a great, especially on something like Texas FFA. So everybody has some type of emotional connection, but how do you get that out of them in the interview? Like what would be some of the tips or things that your team does to make sure you can get, possibly the best content out of the talent as possible?
That's a great question. And I think we have some good tricks on, first of all, I think we're really good at making them feel comfortable. And sometimes we may act like we're taking longer to set up, but I'm sitting there just visiting with them like we're having a cup of coffee.
You send Matt the secret wink. You're like, Matt, okay, they're ready.
Well, sometimes the camera's running and they don't even know it. And I'll always, and Matt does the same thing. We ask by just, chit chatting with them. And it's like we're kneading bread and we're just getting more and more into the story. And sometimes before we ever know it, we are in the interview, and Matt especially, but we know when we're getting it and we're getting to the heart of the story. And, we also love to, while we may have a set of questions to ask, really what they say sometimes leads to a different question. I think we're also very good at knowing when to be silent and to letting them keep talking, because the more that you give them, the more of the heart they're going to give you. And silence is sometimes a good thing in an interview because their mind is moving inside. And when we get the one sentence or the one small story, Matt and I can tell off of our mannerisms when we got something really warm, heartfelt, and spectacular. And it's great to intertwine those interviews against each other, because each one of those interviews will tell the same story in a whole different way. And taking the best pieces of those stories and allowing Matt to mold it into the perfect story is what I think we do best. Would you agree, Matt?
Yeah, I definitely agree. what Jackie said, comfort is the most important thing. And laughter as well. I used to work with a guy who would sit a person down in a chair and he would say, okay, first question, do you believe in ghosts? Something totally off subject. And it would just, they'd break into a smile, so Jackie is really good while me and the camera guy are, doing the technical things. Jackie is, warming them up, getting to know them. And, it's just important because at the end of the day, all it is just a conversation, minus the huge camera and lights pointed at you. So comfort and just easing them into it is the main thing, and just getting them to tell their story and just to get it out.
Oh, I love this. And by the way, you just both taught me something, and we all learn from each other. And you just taught me something. So for certain episodes and certain shows we do, and with certain talent, it does make sense. I should start just recording earlier, do the warm up, and even record the warm up, like for some of the recorded ones, because sometimes I feel like for the talent, and especially if somebody's not been in front of camera a lot or something like that, what happens is when you say like, okay, we're going to begin, then they turn into different people, and you're like, oh, like that added pressure. So I'm like, wait a minute, you're just talking so comfortably. Now you sound scripted. I'm like, no, what do I do? You were so warmed up. So leading into that to where the interviews almost started sometimes, and they don't, like, for certain formats. I mean, that sounds like a great idea to me.
That sometimes they don't know when the interview has started, and then the cameras just disappear. And
which is the magic, by the way, for an actor, for anybody. Like if the camera, you know what I mean? Like if you're doing in your craft, that's amazing.
And laughter really is a big thing. If we can get them laughing and loosening up, then we know that we've got it. And the best sentence to me is when it's over, when we feel like we have what we need, and we thank them. When you hear them say, oh my gosh, is that it?
Yep.
That's the sweet spot for us. That means it was a good interview and we got exactly what we needed.
So the next thing I was curious about is really like when you have an organization with as much history as like a Texas FFA, like to whittle that down to, a solid, like action-packed, like content-rich, 15-minute or so, a film, like how does that happen? Like, I know that's a big question and it's broad, but I was just racking my brain with it. Like, how does that happen?
It's very difficult, but I will say this, sometimes the client goes, how long is it going to be? And I go, length is not in our brain set. The story will have an ebb and a flow, and the story will dictate how long the documentary is. So just hang tight with us. I think having a great editor with the quality of work that Matt does, and I love to give him this kudo. He knows how to weave a puzzle that can be very difficult. When we come back from a video shoot and we have over 60 hours of video to look at, how do you take that 60 hours into 12 minutes? That is hard. It's a difficult task. Did we have lots of video that's still fantastic? Yes. We have so much video, we could almost do another documentary. But we understand the attention span of the human being, the heart of the human being, and the flow of the story. That's a puzzle. Matt, you would have to answer that one because he is magnificent at putting the pieces of the puzzle together.
Yeah, like Jackie said, it's just a puzzle. That's why I like editing so much. Like filmmaking, being on set, that feels more like problem solving because everything can go wrong, does go wrong. But I like to edit because it's just sitting here, it's just solving a puzzle. It can take a while though. I mean, with this, we had the challenge of not just telling what the foundation is, but also I wanted to explain the story of what the Texas FFA is, because I want someone who watches this, who has no knowledge of any of this, the FFA or the foundation, to come away and at least know something a little more about it. But like Jackie said, we try not to worry about time, but a lot of times when people finish videos that we make, a big compliment that we get is, I can't believe it was this long. It felt like it flew by.
Yeah.
So it's important with the video like this, where it's mainly interviews and not a lot of B-roll stuff we had to create, is just to keep it flowing with, whether that's music or slowing it down through a dramatic scene. Just because this is a video done, it's like a documentary, doesn't mean certain parts can't feel like a movie, just to keep the viewer interested. So once I kind of go through the interviews and kind of know what the story is I want to tell, I'll kind of write out certain sections just on my notes app, and I'll kind of know what points I want to hit and about where I want to try to hit that. And that's sort of the process, but it just changes every single project. Every project is so different from each one. So, but
Adam, I have to interject here. Sometimes the perfect moment of a documentary, when that's the magical piece, when Matt gets to that magical piece, I always tell him we have to ring a bell or bang on the bongo drums, or he'll come to my desk and he says, I've got the ending, or I've got the magic. So you think that happens even going through that 60 hours of video? We have an ebb and a flow, but nothing makes me more happy when Matt walks into my office and he goes, it happened. I got it. So that's a pinnacle part of any video that we create and produce. And when that happens, that's when our entire office comes together and we know the finished product is exactly what it should be.
Tell me some of the things, some of the elements that that you wanted to kind of bring out and highlight in the film as you were going through these things. As you were going through, obviously, all this footage, you're like, okay, this is a key moment. This is a key moment. Like, tell me and by the way, for everybody watching this, we won't spoil it. We're not going to tell you the whole film, and we will be adding a link to it in the show notes. And just for those listening, it's mytexasffa.org. If you just go to that website, you'll see a big watch the film banner there, so you can watch it anytime. But for those of you that can click on the link, click on that link and it'll take you right over. But just for context, so getting back to my question, tell me some of the key elements of the film as you were going through this that you were like, oh, this is important to highlight. I know you mentioned one that was a big donation or sponsorship from, I believe it was Ford, for over $1 million, one of their first, which that hit me when that happened. When I saw the film, I'm like, wow. But what are some other key elements?
Matt?
I would say, that was a big one. The Ford donation, when we shot that, the interview we knew was a special story. The problem we had with that was getting B-roll, because this happened in 2002. Yeah. Not a lot of people, we had cameras that they were carrying around back then. So we had to just use some little tricks along the way, putting a VHS filter on there, just take people back to 2002 and create that moment. I would say besides that, we're trying to tell a huge history here, but in working with FFA, one of the biggest things I've found is just the passion that everybody has. No matter who we did the interview with, you could tell everybody was just really, really passionate about being a part of that, if they were in it or had been a part of it. So that was something that we wanted to do. At the end, when we kind of switch from the foundation and just talk about people's journey and what the FFA means to them. That was something that really important that we wanted to tie into it, because no matter what their involvement is with it, everybody has a ton of passion for being a part of the Texas FFA. And that's something that's jumped out at me right away from day one, is how special it really is.
So now you have this film done. Obviously, it's getting a lot of attention. I mean, we put it in our newsletter, and whenever I find something that I think is really interesting, I'll put it in our newsletter for our weekly readers. We got a lot, by the way, we got a lot of great feedback, and the FFA community just in general. I mean, they're connected. We got replies back in the newsletter. I believe one of the gentlemen from the Iowa FFA replied, and he said, "Oh, this is awesome." And all these, I didn't even know they were on our newsletter. I'm like, I feel like the FFA as a whole and as a network they're just so supportive of each other that we are getting response from there that I didn't even realize that we had any viewership. So first off, grateful and thank you to the FFA for that. But my point being is that as filmmakers or as creators, a lot of times you finish a project, you get it out there. But to me, I mean, I'm obviously more on the media side of things and on the promotion side of things than maybe the distribution. So I guess where I'm going with this is, how do you make sure that as a creator, after you have this great work out there, that it doesn't just stop there, that more eyeballs get to it. And Jackie, as you mentioned, like the idea of what Hoegger Communications does, right? We need eyeballs. We want to make sure that we get attention for these works that do deserve the attention. Like, how do you make sure that the promotion continues, that people continue to see this film?
That's a great question. We really strategize with the client at the end result. When we get the, wow, this is it, this is perfect, I go, all right, now that's only half the work. Now, how do we get it out and get those eyeballs and attention? So we sit down with the client and strategize, what is the first step, second step, third, fourth, fifth on getting it out. And they're very good at giving us their perspective, and then we give them our perspective. Then we put a PR plan together. If they have a PR firm, we work with them to make sure that it gets out. And then we massage that a lot on our end. Our influence is pretty big across the states that we work with. And we make sure that we also enter it in film festivals. We enter it in the advertising awards. We enter it into all different types of award categories, the Telly Awards for video. And then when we are awarded gold, silver, or bronze for those, then we throw it out there again. Make sure you watch this international award-winning documentary. So we massage it for a good 12 to 18 months after that. We analyze every single film festival. Does the foundation documentary fit in this film festival? Yes, then let's enter it. And many times these documentaries will lead to a second documentary or another one. So that's how we massage it to make sure that it has a shelf life of more than just 30 days.
Yeah, it's great. And I have to ask you that question because I like, for creators out there that they spend so much time and they finally come out this product and it's like, okay, it's there, but it takes time. Like some of the best films, some of the, like there's a business behind this. Some of the best films, the best books, the best like things sometimes take years before it hits mainstream and you don't know what that thing is. So just because you release something and you doesn't go viral in a week or a month or even a year, or even that doesn't even have to be the goal. The goal is that it's another piece and body of your work, a piece of your catalog, another great story that you were able to tell, and thing that you were able to put out there, and just to make sure not to stop on the other end. So I'm glad you said at least 12 to 18 months you're working on it, minimum on the promo side. And that's assuming that it doesn't continue to get more and more and more. Before you know it, you wake up and you're like, wait a minute, this is awesome. Like all those awards and things, they don't happen by themselves. It does take work. So I always like to get a little plug for the process on the after the film's done, so that, especially creators of different levels will have ideas on what they can do. So first off, I have to say, Jackie, Matt, has been excellent having you on the show today, learning more about the foundation, both of your backgrounds. I have to ask, I know you're both busy individuals and creators. So what's next? I mean, what's next for Hoegger Communications? What kind of interesting projects do you have coming up?
Considering that we work all around the United States, we have lots of films in production right now. Last year, we produced a film that went international and won, and we're doing the second level of it as well. That's a one that went all the way to a publisher in Milan and caught their attention. So we have that coming up. We've got about 4 more documentaries in the queue that we're working on. We also work with a lot of automotive, a lot of financial. The automotive industry is very disruptive right now, but we've learned how to navigate that with them to make sure they're in the profit zone. And then we work with a lot of franchises across the United States. Well, we find that word of mouth, when people find us, they go, oh my gosh, where have you guys been? We've been looking for a partner. So lots are in the queue. We thought we were going to take a little break of fresh air in first quarter. And I'm going to tell you that has not happened. So while we may end our day fairly exhausted and our brain is kind of fried by 5:30 in the evening, I wake up the next morning energized that people are still calling us. So I feel blessed. Matt, what's hot on your agenda for this next year?
Really, it's just, we just finished a big video that been working on. It's for a nonprofit dealing with veterans and helping them. That was a big challenge for our team, and that's going to be released soon. That was another one where we had to take a lot of interview footage and create our own B-roll pretty much. But yeah, like Jackie said, we have stuff in film festival all the time. We just had one of our videos that we shot play last weekend at the Santa Barbara International Film Festival. So, just because we're, essentially a marketing company doesn't mean we just do that. We, there's a lot of things that we, it's just because it's made for a client. I mean, it can't be something more than that, So, but yeah, I'd say the most thing I'm excited about is I'm really just happy that the foundation video is out there right now. That was a lot of work. We started working on that back in April, I believe, and it had been sitting on the hard drive for a while, just as we chipped away at it. And I'm really proud of how that's turned out.
Wonderful. I'm happy about the way it turned out as well, and I'm sure my audience will be as well. We'll put the link to the video again in the show notes because I want everybody to go check that out. But that being said, Jackie, if somebody is watching this and they want to learn more about Hoegger Communications and how to work with you and your team over there, and Matt and the whole squad, what's the best way for them to do that?
Well, you can always go to teamhoegger.com and find our website, and you can find us there. You can find us on LinkedIn, Hoegger Communications. You can find Jackie Hoegger on LinkedIn. Now, Hoegger is spelled Hoegger. It looks like Hoegger, but it's Hoegger. But we're all over Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Google, YouTube, you name it, you can find us. Just put in Hoegger Communications and we'll pop up. Reach out to us. It doesn't cost one penny just to meet and visit and talk about, what your needs are for 2022, 2023. We love to make new friends and we love to tell your story.
That's great. And we'll put Hoegger Communications, all that information in the show notes for our audience. And speaking of the audience, if this is your first time engaging with the Mission Matters platform, whether you're listening to the podcast or watching us on YouTube or social media or any of our streams, just to let you know, first off, we're glad to have you. But second, we bring on entrepreneurs, executives, experts, creators, and we have them share their mission, their projects, their background. Why do they do what they do? Like, what excites them about going out there into the world and making a difference? If that is the type of content that excites you or interests you, we welcome you to hit that subscribe button because we have many more mission-based individuals coming up on the line, and we don't want you to miss a thing. And Matt, Jackie, really, it's been a pleasure having you on the show, and wishing you both much more continued success.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Adam.